Rain hammered the private runway as Valeria Cross, the most feared CEO in aviation tech, stared at her silent jet minutes before the deal that could save her empire. Engineers surrounded the aircraft with tablets, excuses, and pale faces. Then Rowan Hale, an oil-stained single-dad mechanic, stepped forward and said he needed one look. Valeria laughed in front of everyone. "My best engineers failed, and you think you can fix this?" The hangar went quiet. Rowan swallowed the insult, knelt beside the engine, and saw what no one else had noticed: a fake seal, a cut wire, a hidden chip. When he stood, his voice was low enough for only Valeria to hear. "Your jet isn't dead. Someone made sure you'd never reach Seattle." Her smile vanished. Because if Rowan was right, the saboteur was standing much closer than she feared. His next words would destroy her trust forever. The morning Valeria Cross was supposed to fly to Seattle, rain swept across Hawthorne Field like a warning. Water rolled down the glass walls of the private terminal, blurred the lights on the runway, and turned the hangar floor into a mirror of gray steel and shadows. Her jet waited under the floodlights, white and silent, its nose pointed toward the storm, as if even the aircraft understood what was at stake. Valeria stood near the open hangar doors in a black coat. One hand wrapped around her phone, the other clenched so tightly her diamond ring pressed into her palm. At 42, she had become the most feared woman in aviation technology, the CEO of Cross-Axis Technologies, a company she had built from a rented office, a borrowed laptop, and a refusal to ever be powerless again. Reporters called her brilliant. Competitors called her ruthless. Employees called her impossible when they thought she could not hear. Valeria accepted all of it because success had never come gently to her. She had learned early that kindness could be mistaken for weakness, and hesitation could cost everything. That morning, hesitation was not an option. In Seattle, the board of Orion Aeronautics was waiting for her signature on a merger that would give Cross-Axis control of a billion-dollar safety platform and open every locked door she had spent 20 years pushing against. The deal would also trigger a full audit of Cross-Axis flight data systems, a detail she considered routine, but several people around her had been strangely nervous about for weeks. Her chief financial officer, Adrian Kell, had warned that the audit could slow the merger. Her head of technical operations, Martin Voss, had suggested delaying the trip. Valeria had ignored them both. She had not built an empire by letting anxious men talk her out of victory. Across the hangar, Rowan Hale tightened the strap on his tool bag and watched the jet with the focus of a man who trusted machines more than people. He was 38, dressed in a maintenance uniform stained with oil at the cuffs. To most executives moving through the hangar, he was part of the background as ordinary as a ladder or a cart of spare parts. They saw the uniform before they saw the man. They saw grease, not skill. They saw a mechanic, not the former military aircraft specialist who had once diagnosed engine failures by sound in desert windstorms. Rowan no longer corrected anyone. Life had humbled him in ways pride could not survive. After his wife died, he walked away from a faster career because his daughter Mira needed a father who came home every night, not a name on a payroll sheet overseas. Every morning he packed her lunch, braided her hair, dropped her at school, and came to Hawthorne Field to keep other people safe in the air. That was enough. Or he had convinced himself it was. He had. He had just finished checking a commuter aircraft when an alarm cut through the hangar. On Valeria's jet, the cockpit screens flickered, died, flashed again, and filled with cascading fault codes. The pilot tried the ignition sequence twice. The engines refused to answer. A murmur moved through the crew, then through the executives, then through the security detail near Valeria. Within minutes, chaos began. Engineers rushed in with tablets and diagnostic cables. Martin Voss barked orders at the maintenance crew. Adrian Kell stepped away to make calls, his face tense but his voice controlled. Valeria stood motionless alone as the first report reached her. The primary ignition system was locked. The auxiliary fuel control was rejecting commands. The safety computer had triggered a shutdown that could not be bypassed without reset. How long? Valeria asked. The lead engineer, a polished man named Blake Turner, looked as if he would rather step into the storm than answer. At least 48 hours if the controller has to be replaced. The words struck the hangar harder than thunder. 48 hours meant no Seattle meeting, no signature, no merger, no audit, no victory. Valeria's expression did not break, but something cold moved behind her eyes. That aircraft passed inspection last night, she said. Blake swallowed. Yes, ma'am. It did. Then explain why my jet is dead. No one answered. For the next hour, the best-paid engineers at Hawthorne Field opened panels, ran scans, blamed the weather, blamed voltage spikes, blamed an aging sensor cluster, then blamed each other in quieter voices. Rowan stayed back because he had not been assigned to the private jet team, but he kept watching. Something about the failure bothered him. A natural fault was messy. It had a pattern of stress, wear, heat, and consequence. This looked too clean, too timed, too convenient. When a junior technician removed a side panel near the auxiliary control bay, Rowan saw it for less than 2 seconds, a seal that looked official, but sat a fraction too high, a smear of fresh oil where no hand should have been, and a wire bend shaped by a tool instead of vibration. His stomach tightened. He stepped closer. Who cleared the access bay after inspection? He asked. Blake barely looked at him. Not now, Hale. Rowan kept his voice low. That seal is wrong. Martin Voss turned from the cockpit ladder, irritation sharpening his face. What did you say the seal on the auxiliary control bay? It is not seated like the others. Blake gave a short laugh. The jet is throwing 7 major fault codes, and you want to talk about a sticker? A few people smiled. Rowan felt heat rise in his neck, but he did not step back. It is not just the seal. He looked toward Valeria, who had been listening from 10 feet away. Her gaze moved over his uniform, his stained sleeves, the tool bag at his feet. She was angry, frightened beneath the anger, and surrounded by people who were supposed to have answers. Rowan understood all that, but understanding did not make her words less sharp. Are you assigned to this aircraft? She asked. No, ma'am. Are you part of my executive flight engineering team? No. Then why are you interrupting people who are... The hangar quieted. Rowan felt every stare turn toward him. Because the failure does not match the damage. Valeria's mouth tightened into something that was almost a smile and not close to kindness. My best engineers have been inside that aircraft for an hour, and you expect me to believe the man with grease on his shirt noticed what they missed. Adrian Kell glanced up from his phone. Martin folded his arms. Blake looked away, embarrassed for Rowan, but pleased to be defended. Valeria stepped closer. I have a $1 billion agreement dying by the minute. I have pilots, grounded investors calling, and a board waiting for any reason to question my leadership. So unless you can restart that jet by confidence, Mr. Hale, do not waste my time pretending this is a neighborhood repair shop. The insult landed publicly. Someone near the equipment cart coughed to hide a laugh. Rowan's jaw tightened. He thought of Mira asking him the night before if rich people were always important or just always loud. He had told her important people were the ones who did the right thing when it was hard. Now the hard thing stood in front of him wearing a coat worth more than his truck. He could have apologized and walked away. He could have saved his job, finished his shift, picked up Mira, and let Valeria's world collapse without him. It would have been easier. It might even have been fair. But then he looked at the jet again and saw the truth hiding in small details waiting for pride to bury it. I am not pretending, he said. Valeria's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. Rowan stepped past Blake before anyone stopped him, crouched beside the open panel, and pointed without touching. That seal was replaced after last night's inspection. The adhesive edge is too clean for a seal exposed to hangar dust overnight. This wire harness has been flexed by hand, not vibration. And that oil mark comes from a technician's glove, not the line. Martin's face hardened. You are making assumptions. No, Rowan said. "I am reading a scene." Blake snapped. "You are out of line." Rowan looked at Valeria, not at Blake. "Give me access to the secondary diagnostic housing." "Absolutely not," Martin said. "He is not authorized." Rowan knew that was true. He also knew authorization had become the enemy of action. "If I am wrong, fire me," he said. "You were already close," Valeria replied coldly. Rowan accepted that with a small nod. "Then you have nothing to lose." The words hung there. Rain hammered the roof. The pilot watched from the cockpit stairs. Adrian stopped typing on his phone. Valeria studied Rowan's face, searching for arrogance, panic, or greed. She found none. That annoyed her more than fear would have. 5 minutes, she said. 20, Rowan answered. The boldness surprised even him. Martin laughed once. He negotiates now. Valeria did not laugh. You have 10. 20 or do not bother, Rowan said. The housing is layered. If someone did what I think they did, rushing will destroy the evidence. At the word evidence, the hangar shifted. Valeria heard it too. Evidence meant this was no longer only a malfunction. Evidence meant blame. Evidence meant intent. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Choose your next sentence carefully. Rowan stood, rainlight silvering the oil on his sleeves. Your jet is not dead, he said. Someone made it look dead. Valeria stared at him. Why would anyone do that? Rowan glanced toward the executives, the engineers, the security cameras, and the aircraft that should already have been climbing above the storm. He did not know the whole answer yet, but he knew enough to feel the danger of speaking it aloud. Because someone needed you grounded today, he said. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Valeria's face changed for the first time. The anger remained, but behind it came memory, Adrian's warnings, Martin's pressure, the missing audit files, the anonymous email her assistant had dismissed as spam, the way certain directors had looked relieved when the jet failed. She did not want to believe a mechanic she had just humiliated. She wanted to believe in systems, titles, reports, and the clean lines of authority that had carried her to the top. But the aircraft in front of her had passed every test, then died at the exact moment her signature mattered most. Pride gave her one answer. Instinct gave her another. At last, Valeria turned to Martin. Open the secondary housing. Martin stiffened. Valeria, that is a mistake. I did not ask. Blake looked between them, uncertain. Rowan reached for his gloves. Valeria pointed a finger at him. You have 20 minutes, Mr. Hale. If this is theater, your career at Hawthorne Field ends before that clock does. Rowan met her stare without flinching. If I am right, he said, your problem is not the jet. Then he knelt beside the aircraft, while the most powerful woman in the hangar watched the man she had mocked begin to uncover the first sign that her enemy was standing inside her own circle. Rowan's 20 minutes began under a silence heavier than the rain. The hangar clock clicked above the service doors, while executives pretended not to watch him. Engineers watched too closely, and Valeria Cross stood with her arms folded, as if posture alone could hold her empire together. Rowan opened the secondary diagnostic housing with careful hands because speed ruined evidence. Blake Turner hovered behind him. Martin Voss kept telling security that Rowan was not authorized to touch the aircraft, but Valeria had given the order. Rowan removed the outer cover and aimed his flashlight behind the control board. At first, the bay looked clean, too clean. Aircraft held memories in dust heat marks, fingerprints, and worn edges. This bay had been wiped where it should have been, dull polished where no mechanic would bother polishing, and sealed where no seal should have been replaced after inspection. Rowan lifted one gloved finger but did not touch the wire bundle. There, he said. Valeria stepped closer. What am I looking at? A story someone wanted hidden. Blake scoffed. That is not an answer. Rowan ignored him. This harness was loosened, bent, and pressed back into place. Whoever did it knew the system well enough to make the failure look internal. Martin's face stayed still, but his eyes moved to the panel too fast. Rowan noticed. Valeria noticed Rowan noticing. "Can it be repaired?" she asked. Maybe Rowan said, "But fixing it is not the first problem." Then what is? Finding out why someone needed this jet grounded today. Adrian Kell stepped forward, phone in hand. "This is irresponsible. Ms. Cross has a merger to protect, not a detective fantasy to entertain." Rowan looked up. "The merger is exactly what this is about." Adrian's expression cooled. "You would know that how, because sabotage has timing, random failure does not." Valeria felt the morning change. She ordered security to pull the access log's camera footage and maintenance records. Martin warned that such a review would delay repairs. Valeria said the delay had happened. Within minutes, the hangar became a crime scene. Rowan kept working. He found a fake inspection seal printed with the right logo, but pressed over the wrong adhesive layer. He found a wire jacket shaved so finely that only a bend under light revealed the cut. He found a diagnostic port scraped by a device inserted quickly. Each discovery made Blake quieter and Martin more impatient. Finally, Rowan reached the auxiliary data nest and stopped. A black chip smaller than a postage stamp sat where no factory component belonged. It had been tucked beneath a thermal sleeve hidden well enough to pass a hurried inspection. "That," Rowan said, "is why your jet will not start." Valeria stared at the chip. "What does it do?" "It lies," Rowan said. "It tells the safety computer the ignition path is unsafe. Then it tells the fuel controller the command is corrupted. Then it locks the system to protect the aircraft from a danger that does not exist." Blake leaned closer, pale now. "A spoofing bridge." Rowan nodded. "Custom made," Martin said, "or planted by the man who conveniently found it." The accusation struck fast. Security looked at Rowan. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Blake backed away. Rowan rose slowly, hands visible. "I did not plant anything." Martin stepped closer. "You had access to this hangar. So did half the maintenance staff. But you were the one pushing a sabotage theory." Rowan held his stare. Because it was sabotage. Valeria cut in. "Enough. Pull the logs." Martin lowered his voice. "Valeria, think carefully. If this becomes public, Orion may walk. The board may question whether you control your own fleet. We can document this as component failure, replace the controller, and salvage the optics." "Optics do not ground jets," Valeria said. "People do." The first security report arrived 10 minutes later. The external cameras showed normal activity overnight, but 2 internal cameras near the maintenance cage had gone offline for 7 minutes at 2:13 a.m. Martin blamed storms. Rowan asked why only the cameras covering the private jet bay failed. No one answered. The access logs showed Rowan had left at 6:02 p.m. Blake had left at 7:15. Martin's badge had entered the technical corridor after midnight, though he claimed an alarm brought him back to check a sensor. Adrian's badge did not appear. Valeria studied the log, then looked at Adrian. "Where were you at 2:13? Adrian gave a thin smile. "At home asleep, like most innocent people." Rowan watched him. Innocent people often sounded offended. Guilty people often sounded rehearsed. Before Valeria could press further, her assistant called from the terminal. Orion's board would wait 1 more hour. After that, the meeting would be postponed and the merger could be reopened to competitors. Valeria's phone filled with messages from directors demanding she stop the investigation. One message from Douglas Grant was blunt. "Do not let a mechanic turn an equipment failure into a scandal." Valeria read it twice. Rowan saw her jaw tighten. She was trapped between a truth with no proof and a lie with powerful friends. He knew that place. The investigation deepened when Rowan connected the hidden chip to a portable diagnostic reader. Its code had been set to trigger during the pre-flight sequence for Seattle. Not earlier. Not later. Seattle. That detail changed everything. Valeria ordered her legal team to send the merger audit clause. When she read it, the room blurred at the edges. The signing would activate an immediate review of Cross-Axis's flight safety data contracts, vendor payments, and security access privileges. In the last month, Adrian had argued against that clause 5 times. Martin had called it unnecessary exposure. A missing finance folder had been blamed on clerical error. An anonymous email warning of dirty data channels had been buried in spam. Now those irritations lined up like runway lights. Rowan saw her understand. "They were not trying to crash you," he said quietly. "They were trying to stop you from signing." "Why?" Valeria asked, though she feared the answer. Rowan tapped the reader screen. "Because once you signed, someone got audited." Adrian laughed softly. "A mechanic is now interpreting merger law." Rowan turned the device so Valeria could see the data pulse. "I am interpreting motive." The midpoint arrived not with shouting, but with silence. Valeria realized her jet had been used as a lock on her future. The real target was not metal fuel or flight. It was her signature. If she did not reach Seattle, the audit could die, the merger could stall, and whoever had hidden corruption inside Cross-Axis could keep breathing. For the first time that morning, Valeria looked at Rowan without contempt. She did not apologize. Not yet. But she asked, "What do you need?" Rowan answered, "Full access to the night logs, thermal records, and tool inventory." Martin objected. "Absolutely not." Valeria's eyes stayed on Rowan. Done. That was when the enemy struck back. The next report showed an edited corridor clip Rowan walking near the private jet bay late the previous night. The timestamp read 2:09 a.m. Rowan stared at the image, stunned. He had been home with Mira asleep after helping her finish a school project. But the man on the screen wore his uniform, carried his tool bag, and moved with his build. Martin turned to Valeria with practiced disappointment. "You wanted evidence." Adrian added, "We cannot ignore this." Rowan's face hardened. "That is not me," Blake whispered. "It looks like you. Because someone wanted it to." Security moved closer. Valeria said nothing for several seconds, and those seconds cut Rowan deeper than the morning's insult. He realized she might believe them. Why would she not? She barely knew him. He was poor, replaceable, and already standing beside the evidence. Martin pressed the advantage. "Suspend him. Let law enforcement handle it. We can classify the incident as employee tampering and move forward." Rowan looked at Valeria. "If you do that, you bury the only trail you have." Adrian's voice softened into poison. "Or we remove the saboteur from the aircraft." Valeria ordered security to hold Rowan in the service office, not arrest him. It felt like a cage. Rowan was escorted past mechanics who would not meet his eyes. His phone buzzed with a message from Mira's school, and shame hit harder than fear. He could survive losing a job. He could not survive his daughter hearing that her father had been branded a criminal. In the service office, Rowan replayed the footage. The imposter's steps were close, but the left shoulder dipped wrong. The tool bag hung on the wrong side. Details. Always details. He knocked on the glass until Valeria came. "Check the thermal log," he said. "The private bay was cold last night. If someone opened that housing, the tool left heat behind." Valeria hesitated. "Why should I still trust you?" Rowan's answer was tired but steady. "Because I am still telling you how to prove I am wrong." That reached her. She ordered the thermal records pulled. Martin tried to stop it, calling the files irrelevant. Adrian said the board would not tolerate more delays. Then the thermal map appeared. It showed a heat signature on the auxiliary housing at 2:16 a.m., made by a high-grade induction key stored only in the restricted technical cage. Rowan had no access to that cage. Martin did. Adrian had financial override for emergency vendor equipment. The room went still again, but Martin was ready. He produced a signed maintenance exception showing Rowan had received temporary access the previous week. Rowan had never seen it. The signature looked like his, close enough to convince people who wanted to be convinced. Valeria's board called in by video. Douglas Grant demanded immediate action. "Sign the termination order," he said. "Distance the company from him, report employee sabotage, and get this merger under control." Martin placed the document in front of Valeria. Adrian stood beside him. Rowan, brought back under guard, looked at the paper and understood the trap. If Valeria signed Martin and Adrian would make him the story. The chip, the audit, the missing data, the midnight access, all of it would vanish behind one headline. "Desperate mechanic sabotages CEO's jet." Valeria picked up the pen. Rowan did not beg. Begging would not save the truth. "If you sign that," he said quietly, "the person who grounded your jet wins." Valeria looked at him, then at the men she had trusted for years, then at the aircraft, silent in the storm. Her empire, her deal, and Rowan's life were balanced on the same thin line. Martin smiled. Valeria lowered the pen toward the page. Valeria did not sign. The tip of the pen touched the paper, paused, and then lifted. For one breath, nobody moved. Martin Voss's smile faded first, as if someone had pulled a wire from behind his face. Adrian Kell straightened beside him, trying to look confused instead of afraid. On the video screen, Douglas Grant demanded to know what she was doing. Valeria set the pen down with a calm that terrified every guilty person in the room. "I am choosing the truth," she said. "And until this aircraft, this evidence, and this company are secured, no one leaves this hangar." Martin stepped toward her. "You are making a reckless mistake." Valeria turned to security. "Remove his access badge." Martin froze. "You cannot do that. Watch me." Two guards moved in, and for the first time that morning, Martin lost control of his voice. He accused Valeria of panic, accused Rowan of manipulation, accused the board of letting a grease-covered nobody destroy a merger. But the more he spoke, the more desperate he sounded. Rowan stood under guard, still bruised by suspicion, but his eyes had returned to the aircraft. He knew the truth was inside the jet, not inside anyone's speech. "Mr. Hale," Valeria said. "What is the fastest way to prove who planted that chip?" Martin snapped. "Do not let him near the system again." Valeria ignored him. Rowan answered. "The chip is not just blocking ignition. It has to report success to whoever installed it. If I isolate the signal path, we can find where it called home." Adrian gave a cold laugh. "Convenient." Rowan looked at him. "Very." Valeria ordered Rowan released, but kept two security officers at his side. The hangar doors were sealed. Laptops were collected. Phones were placed on a table except for Valeria's secure line to Orion. Rain struck the roof while the world inside narrowed to one aircraft, one mechanic, and one final chance. Rowan knelt at the open bay again. His hands did not shake, but his thoughts moved to Mira. He could not let her inherit a lie. Valeria crouched beside him. "I owe you more than access," she said quietly. Rowan kept working. "You can owe me after we are alive on the other side of this." He connected the chip to a diagnostic bridge and watched code crawl across the tablet. The hidden device had been built with discipline. It had sent a confirmation burst through the aircraft's internal maintenance network at 2:18 a.m., then routed the packet through an executive server reserved for emergency vendor approvals. Rowan followed the path while Blake Turner read over his shoulder. "That server is not engineering," Blake whispered. "It is finance." Adrian's expression hardened. "Thousands of automated approvals move through finance." Rowan tapped the screen. Not from a private jet control bay at 2 in the morning. Valeria ordered the server mirrored. Adrian reached for his phone. A guard blocked him. At that instant, Martin lunged toward the maintenance console. He was not trying to run. He was trying to erase. Rowan saw the movement before the guards did. "Stop him!" he shouted. Martin slammed a command into the console, and a remote purge began. Valeria's evidence, Rowan's innocence, and the trail to the audit fraud began disappearing in front of them. Blake panicked. Adrian shouted that the system was unstable. Martin claimed he was protecting company data. Rowan shoved a rolling toolbox against the console cabinet and ripped open the lower panel. He triggered a wipe from the technical cage relay, he said. "Can you stop it?" Valeria asked. "Not from here." Then where Rowan pointed to the jet. From inside the aircraft bus. The purge has to pass through the same bridge he used to fake the fault. Valeria did not hesitate. "Do it." Rowan climbed into the service access, shoulder-scraping metal tablet wedged against his knee. The space was narrow, hot, and filled with the smell of insulation. His flashlight shook now, not from fear, but from the race against seconds. Lines of data vanished. The purge crawled closer to the packet history that could prove everything. Rowan patched a manual loop into the bus and forced the chip to answer him. "Come on," he breathed. For one moment, nothing happened. Then the tablet caught a return signal not from Rowan's account, not from Blake's, but from Martin Voss's restricted technical credential paired with Adrian Kell's financial override. The two keys together had authorized the hidden device, the midnight access, and the false maintenance exception that framed Rowan. Rowan locked the data, copied it, and sent it to Valeria's secure device. The screen in the hangar filled with the restored record. Martin had entered the cage at 2:06 a.m. Adrian had approved a vendor tool under a false emergency code at 2:07. The hidden chip had reported installation at 2:18. The forged video of Rowan had been generated from old security footage and layered over the corridor feed. The room went silent except for the rain. Adrian's face went gray. Martin tried to speak, but no polished sentence could cross the evidence now. Valeria looked from the screen to both men. "Why?" she asked. Martin's mask cracked. "Because you were going to ruin everything." "The audit," Rowan said. Valeria turned toward him. He did not sound triumphant. He sounded tired. The Seattle signature would have opened the books. Adrian's control collapsed into bitterness. He said Cross-Axis had burned money for years on programs Valeria wanted because they made her feel noble. He and Martin had sold restricted safety data through shell vendors to cover losses and enrich themselves, telling themselves they were protecting the company from her ambition. The Orion audit would have exposed missing funds, illegal data transfers, and contracts with a competitor. Grounding the jet was supposed to delay the signing. Framing Rowan was supposed to end the questions. "You could have brought down my company," Valeria said. Adrian answered, "Your company. We kept it breathing while you chased legacy." Something in Valeria went still. "No," she said. "You kept yourselves rich while honest people carried the weight." She looked at Rowan then, and shame crossed her face. Honest people. She had nearly crushed one to protect the comfort of traitors. The police arrived before Martin could make another move. Security handed over the mirrored servers, the chip, the forged access form, and the restored footage. Martin Voss and Adrian Kell were let out past the same mechanics who had laughed at Rowan hours earlier. Neither man looked at him. Men like them rarely looked at the people they used. With the purge stopped and the sabotage isolated, Rowan returned to the jet. The aircraft was still locked, but now the lock had a name. He removed the chip, reset the safety computer, cleared the false faults, and ran the ignition path manually through the backup controller. Blake assisted without a word, handing tools before Rowan asked. A deep tone sounded from the cockpit. Then another. The screens brightened. The fuel system responded. Outside rain rolled over the runway lights as the engines turned, once coughed, then roared alive with a force that shook the hangar doors. The sound hit everyone in the chest. Valeria closed her eyes. The jet was alive. The merger was alive. Rowan's name was alive. She turned to him in front of the board screen, the pilots, the guards, the mechanics, and the executives who remained. "Mr. Hale?" she said, her voice clear. "I was wrong." Rowan stood with oil across one sleeve and exhaustion in his face. Valeria continued. "I judged you by your uniform. I mocked you because I thought power made me qualified to decide who mattered. You saved my company after I humiliated you in front of it." The apology settled over the hangar quietly, but with force. Rowan could have wounded her back. He could have named every insult, every laugh, every second he had stood alone. Instead, he thought of Mira and of what kind of victory he wanted his daughter to understand. "Do not make me a symbol," he said. "Just stop ignoring people who know what they are doing." Valeria nodded. Done. She boarded the jet 30 minutes later with federal agents receiving evidence Orion's board on a secure call and Rowan's report attached to the audit packet. Before she stepped onto the stairs, she looked back. "Come to Seattle," she said. Rowan shook his head. "My daughter gets out of school at 3. It was the first thing said all day that made Valeria smile without armor. "Then I will call you when we land." The flight reached Seattle in time. Valeria signed the merger, but the signature no longer meant only expansion. It triggered the audit that exposed the shell vendors, the illegal data sales, and every executive who had helped hide them. The scandal wounded Cross-Axis, but it did not destroy it. Companies did not die from truth. They died from rot, protected too long. Months later, Hawthorne Field looked different. A new safety program carried Rowan's design, not his name, because he refused that. Valeria had offered him a senior title in practical systems integrity, a role built around the belief that people closest to the machines deserved a voice before disasters forced one. Rowan accepted on one condition: his schedule stayed steady enough for Mira. Valeria agreed before he finished asking. On a clear afternoon, Valeria visited his modest home with no cameras, no board members, no speech prepared. Mira opened the door holding a cardboard airplane painted blue. Rowan looked embarrassed by the small living room, the school papers on the table, the dishes drying beside the sink. Valeria did not see poverty. She saw warmth, evidence of a life built around someone loved. Mira asked if her dad had really fixed a billionaire's jet. Valeria knelt so they were eye level. "He did more than fix it," she said. "He taught me to look closer." The story ended back in the hangar weeks after that, with Rowan training young technicians beside the same jet that had once nearly destroyed him. Valeria watched from a distance, no longer seeing a grease-stained mechanic who had dared interrupt her. She saw the man who had refused to let pride bury the truth. The jet had been sabotaged, but the deeper damage had been inside her own way of seeing people. Rowan had repaired both, not with wealth, not with title, but with courage steady enough to survive humiliation. And whenever Valeria heard an engine rise into the sky, she remembered the single father she mocked and the lesson that saved her empire. Sometimes the person lowest in the room is the only one tall enough to see the lie.